ألا من كنت مولاه فهذا علي مولاه، اللهم وال من والاه وعاد من عاداه.
Latina is such a vast word. It reminds me that we're all one, even though we are different. It also means challenges and hardship, privileges being denied, rights being denied. I learned at a young age that I was already a woman and I was Mexican. So in order to survive, I had to try harder. I had a very strong relationship with God. I was I guess you would say, one of those dorky students that I enjoyed reading my Bible. I was going to learn their religion, and I thought, I'm not going to take any classes this summer. I'm going to go ahead and do a compare and contrast and see what this crazy religion is about. By this time period, Imam Khomeini from Iran is in the Iranian Revolution, and the students with the embassy and all of that is going on. Islam is everywhere. And I wonder, what are these crazy people doing? Why are they always fighting? Why are they always miserable? So, they just need Jesus Christ in their heart, and they'll be happy like I am. So I started, that was my plan. I took the Quran, I took the Bible, and I'll never forget that day, because it was the day that my life changed. Even though that Quran had been placed in front of my eyes before, and it had been read to me before, it never touched me until that moment when I opened it. What is this crazy religion about? Why are these people protesting? I wanted to know the truth. I wanted actually to discover the fallacies of it so that I could help my friends. That was my niyyah. But when I opened the book, it was like a voltage of energy that just started going through my body. And I didn't want to be doing what anybody wanted me to do. I wanted to do the right thing. So I took the Bible, I took the Quran, and I kneeled, because that was the best way that I knew to pray, the edge of my bed. And I put my hand, one on each book. And I said, God, I want you to show me the truth. I want you to show me the truth. I don't care. I no longer wanted to be right. I wanted to know what was right. I took Shahada eventually, and it was a happy and scary experience because I didn't understand what's next. And it's difficult when you are living with your Christian family and you don't have Muslim friends that they themselves know what to do. This, of course, this is how I was introduced to Islam, through the Al-Sunnah brothers and sisters. They're the majority here in Houston. And I took my Shahada at the East Side Masjid, Islamic Circle Society of Greater Houston. And that is kind of how I was introduced to Islam. Once I was introduced to Islam, there was a lot of what now. Ramadan came, I fasted. Eid came, I went for prayer. Oh, you're Muslim? Oh, Assalamu alaikum, Eid Mubarak. And they would turn and they would leave. Maybe I wasn't dressed properly enough. They would look me up and down. I was very lonely in a way that I'd never been lonely before, because I was raised in the church. My family were people that were well known, and my extended family went to the same church. I tried to find a new family, and it didn't happen. It was very difficult. So I gave myself into the Quran. Then one day I read that if you memorize 40 hadith, you have Jannah guaranteed. So I decided, I'm on my way to paradise. So I picked up every 40 hadith book that I could at the masjid. And I started reading the hadiths. And now the problems began. The hadiths were nonsensical. The Prophet said, if you wear a sandal in your left foot, you should wear a sandal also in your right foot. And things that made the Prophet that I had learned to love, they made him look in a way that I didn't like. The Prophet, he was just a messenger. That's all he was. I didn't like talking to the people. That day that I asked Allah to send me a sign, for some reason I was inspired to do qunut. I said, God, I cannot bear this anymore. I knew I could not go back to Christianity. I knew that it was not the right religion. I couldn't go back. But I knew that also that I could not move forward by myself like this. I had never been so unhappy, so beaten down. And I remember just staying in the prayer hall, just afraid to leave, and angry at the world because I had nowhere to go. I couldn't talk to anyone. And I was getting in my car. I stumbled into some American Muslims. It was a large group of them. And they come to me and they say, are you Muslim? Because I'm not wearing hijab. I would take my hijab on and off because I could not wear it with my parents. And I'm so angry. And I'm thinking to myself, why do you think I'm here? I said, of course I am. I was not nice to these people. I said, of course I'm Muslim. They asked about my ethnicity. I said, I'm Mexican. They had never met a Mexican Muslim before. So they insisted that I have tea with them. And I'm like, no, I didn't feel like socializing with anybody. Especially there were men also in the car. I didn't want to deal with any men. I said, no, I don't have time. I need to go home. They begged me to the point that I agreed. For the first time in 2.5 years, somebody asked, so sister, how is it going? How has it been? I let them know. I told them about the hadiths I was reading, because now I'm speaking to Americans and they're Muslim. So now these people would understand. And I was explaining to them about the hadiths that I was reading and the odd definitions of the tafsir of the Quran, the Sunni Quran that I was reading. And I finally felt like I could speak to someone that could explain. They didn't answer any of my questions or any of my points. And I remember they were looking at one another, they were grinning. And I was really upset because I was very serious and I was very frustrated. And these people were like almost laughing. So one of the brothers said something to me. He said, "Sister, I have a book for you to read." And I'm thinking, oh my God, another book. No answers. But he had a book for me. So I said, okay, I'll take it. I was not going to be rude about it. Something prompted me to read the book when I got home. And another wonderful experience happened. I started reading the book and I started crying and crying and crying. And I closed the book and I'm looking for who's the author. Where is this book from? Who is writing this? Where are these words coming from? Because nothing had ever touched me the way the Quran had touched me. And there's nothing there. I don't see the publisher. I don't see anything. Right at that moment, one of these individuals calls. Says, "Did you read the book, sister?" I said, "Yeah, I did." And I started telling him, "But who is it? I need to know. I need a phone number. I have so many questions. This person I know will have the answers for me." The brother started laughing. I said, "Why are you laughing? I'm serious. I need these answers." He says, "He's dead." I broke down in tears. I felt like there's no hope. I said, "Well, who was he?" He said his name was Ali.
My name is Patricia Perez Habasi. I was born and raised in Mexico, in the northern state of Tamaulipas. And I came to this country in 1979 with my parents. I continued my education until I graduated in 1987. Rather than conflicting emotions based on heritage, we should embrace the uniqueness of our heritage. I have tried to understand it in a better way, study about it, explain it when I have to explain it. And I feel that I know my place because becoming a Muslim has given me that identity, that everything is acceptable because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained it that way. I really feel that all of us have a unique aspect that they cannot be duplicated, that special aspect that makes you who you are. Once I started my courses as a freshman, I had to take a world religions class, which to me sounded fine. Why not? The fact being that when I was growing up as a practicing Catholic, I wanted to become a nun. I liked the way they worshipped when I visited the convents. I wanted to be just like them. So that embracing of religion was still in my heart throughout. When I came to my freshman year in that Catholic university, and I had my Jewish professor explaining different world religions, including Buddhism, Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, Islam, all these isms, it was quite interesting. It was like I have never learned this before. It was just like an eye-opener to me. Nevertheless, as time went through, and most of us know from going to college, at the end of the semester, it was like a reflection time for me. I was asking myself, what did I learn in this class? From all the different religions that I studied, I noticed that in my mind, a very strong phrase was coming to me. It was that Islam was the fastest, youngest religion. I felt that me being skeptical, being raised with 6 children, 6 boys, I felt that I had to question everything. So I did ask myself, why? Why is this coming to me? Why is it so good? What's so good about Islam that it's supposed to be the fastest, youngest religion in the world? That stayed in my mind. The thought that had come to my mind stayed there for years. To be exact, approximately 8 years. I came to know, by coincidence, or I don't know exactly, Allah knows best, I came to know about a person who was dealing with cars, a car dealer, and I needed to get a car myself. So I came to get into acquaintance with a Shia Muslim. That's when I also saw the practice of Islam. This person, his manners, his personality, the way he was speaking, everything to me was, this is Islam again. We were talking all the time and he was telling me things about Islam. And after those few months, we got engaged. He came to meet my family, which is a tradition in the Hispanic culture. And I had spoken to his brother, who was representing his family. So we did the proper, I would say, cultural Islamic way to become engaged. And I had to take my Shahada. He explained to me what it was, and I had no problem with it. I did it, and after that we had said that we were ready to get married, so we made plans. A few months later, we got married. Alhamdulillah, it was something to me like a life-changing moment, that I knew that I was doing the right thing to come to a new religion and meeting a person who was practicing that religion. I feel that as Latinas, and also part of our culture, Hispanic culture, we are being taught to be humble. We're being taught to be family-oriented. We are being taught to respect the elders. All the values that I found in the Hispanic culture, most of them, I would say 90% of the Hispanic culture, they already exist in Islamic philosophy. I believe that it was so easy for me to transfer to another religion, but still, even though I was skeptical, I felt that if I would ever find a better religion, I would leave this one and go to the best one, because we are being taught to be the best at anything that we do. And the signs of humility and being grounded, being down to earth, I feel that that's in Islam. The nature of Islam says everything that a human being is ready to listen to. So I thought it was really interesting, because even before I knew the word Islam, I felt that I was already feeling all these different parts of the value system of Islam, but I did not know it existed. As a Latina Shia here in Houston or in the United States, I am, I guess, a minority being a Latina, minority being a Shia, minority being a woman. I feel that even though we can face any kind of conflicts, everything boils down to how is a person prepared to handle any challenges. Challenges will always be anywhere you go. To me, it's a matter of attitude, of perception. It's a matter of having faith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed such things to happen for a reason. How prepared are you to face challenges anywhere you go, for being you, for being who you are in Islam or based on your ethnicity.
I would say thank you for being a Muslim and being always there for me. Like, she never left me, so I'd say thank you for that too. She is the best mom I can have. I just love her very much. I'm very proud of her because she has raised me in a very great, outstanding manner. I am proud that she chose this religion, Islam. Because I want to be on the right path. Now I'm not alone. My mother has me. I have my mother, and she guides me to the right path.
America is a country that has its roots based on discrimination, and being non-white, Hispanic, Black, it's considered a minority. So we are programmed by the media, by the environment, by school that we're less. So yes, we have been discriminated since the beginning. I think primarily it's because of the media again, because we're constantly being told that the white man is the leader, the white man is the best, the white man is the educated, they're the strong ones. And that's what we see, and that's what we're still looking at. It all started when I was about 17 years old, and we met friends or people who were from Saudi Arabia. They were students studying at the university, the local university in South Texas. And it was very odd to see anybody other than Hispanics or white people. So it was primarily, us. So when we saw other people from other countries, we became curious about them. And so we started talking. I started talking to them, and we became friends. And they were from Saudi Arabia, so they were Sunnis. Of course, at that time, I didn't know the difference between a Sunni or Shia, but I knew they had some sort of unity and brotherly love and family and religion. I would see them praying, and I got really interested in, in what their religion had to offer. After so many months of seeing my friends, being Muslims and how they were reacting to each other and treating each other, then I became interested, and I started to question, what do you believe in? What are you doing? Why are you bending down and praying? And so, and I like how the women were covered and very humble. And when I became a Muslim, I was 18 years old. I was done with high school. I moved to Houston. There was masjids here, maybe one masjid, so I wanted to be close to Muslims. And I was determined to marry a Muslim. So I finally found somebody who was compatible or, who was religious. And again, I did not know he was Shia or Sunni. But that's how when I met my husband when I was about 20 years old. Actually, in the beginning, my husband was, he ate halal foods and stuff, and, he didn't drink or anything like that, but he was not like super religious. After like a year or two, when we got married, there was a Molana, speakers that would come to Houston, and they started talking about religion and Islam, and that's how we became more like Shia, practicing Shia, and I wore my hijab, and
Thank you, Ma, for being my mother.
Thank you for being my son, being a good son.
When I was in pre-K, I remember when everyone has to start school at some point. So I remember my mom when she had to go, and I didn't want to let go of her hand, so I'd cry, and then that's probably one of the memories that I could never forget. Yeah. For my mom being as a Muslim, she's been very supportive. She's pushed me to my limits to my highest potential. Whenever it's time to pray, she'd say, "Oh, it's time to pray." She'd remind me. She'd constantly remind me, as every parent would. Thank you, Mom, for bringing me up the way you brought me up. There's a lot of families that have a hard time bringing up their children and having all this luxury. So thank you for giving me this life, and for being a Muslim and supporting us in every way possible.
I was really young when I converted, so it's been many years, and I think I have identified myself even more now as a Latina Muslim. I'm proud to say that I'm a Latina, and I'm a Muslim, and I'm a Shia. And I think it has helped me become a stronger person as a Latina and a Muslim. Growing up in a Latino, Mexican American environment, Mexican environment, I think we actually had a lot of like crosses, and we had, the Last Supper of Jesus, Last Supper, with the apostles and stuff. So, and then of course the respect. Women were always, humble, and we went to church on Sundays. So I think a lot of it I felt more comfortable with the Shia Islam, and how they were strong, and the family, and they were united, and it speaks so well to us because I think a lot of our culture is a lot similar to the cultures in Pakistan, Iran, or those are the countries I've been to. And the only differences I see when I go to Mexico and I go there is the language and the billboards, the Arabic alphabet, or the lettering, or the Urdu. So I think, we see a lot of similarities: the family, the love, the warmth, the foods, the setting, the being part of the community, and taking responsibility of our neighbors, and
She was actually the one who kind of, made it all happen, sort of. So she was very excited and happy about it. And I was the one who was kind of like, oh, well, second guessing everything in the beginning. But then, alhamdulillah, I ended up meeting Jawan in Iran, and it just happened. It was a spiritual connection. That's what it was. I guess my earliest memory with my mom would be attending Al-Hadi school. I was the second child there, and she used to also work there at that time. So I used to enjoy the fact that I could go and see my mom whenever I would get out of pre-K. I was very young, but I still remember her being there, and it meant a lot for me to have my mom by my side.
I'm very happy that she is married now, and she is married to a Shia. Not only a Shia, he's Sayyid, just like her. She's Sayyid too. And I'm just so overwhelmed with happiness and joy that she is happy, and Jawad is happy too. And, they found each other, and alhamdulillah.
half Mexican, half Iranian, and my mom always says to not say that you're half something and half of another thing. That you are fully Mexican and you are fully Iranian. And you know, being a second generation Latina is, I always have this argument with her about how, well, you're not a half-C, or you're not a person who is from two different cultures. So in a way, it really is, at least my experience has been that it really is a half and a half, but the half and a half really complement each other and make a whole. So I think as I'm very connected with my Latino roots, and that I mean we have strong connections and, you know, closeness with my mom's side of the family, and I think it's often common for amongst Hafizis to choose one culture over another. But for my family, it's been very important to really uphold both sides and both values, and really both you know, principles that exist on both sides, and make them complementary, as opposed to create this discrepancy between the two of them and having to choose one over the other. I don't like to think about it black and white. So being connected with one part for me means being connected to the other part. So, you know, it's just this holistic idea that being Mexican also means being Iranian, and being Iranian also means being Mexican.
My grandparents immigrated to Panama. So my roots are West Indian. My grandfather's from Barbados and my grandmother's from Jamaica. So my father and his sibling are first generation Panamanians. They're all Spanish speaking, and they grew up there, and within both cultures they were halfsies. But I think that being of mixed cultural heritage, I think that my roots, my non-American roots, actually are more in line with Islam and more easily brought into my Islamic practice than my American roots. But in general, I think that having these mixed cultural backgrounds made it important for me to be aware of, respectful of, and engaged with the cultural backgrounds of others, so that it doesn't become a dismissive or a ethnocentric worldview, where, oh, we do this and you guys don't, and look at you funny, but a more holistic, inclusive worldview where everyone's expression gets examined and respected and has a place here, you know. And so I think the biggest impact of having different cultural backgrounds for me has been to acknowledge my own, be aware of my own, but also be able to be accepting and aware of others. And I think that's a gift.
Okay, welcome to my kitchen. This is where I do all of my cooking for families during the week that don't have time to cook and need some home-cooked halal food, as well as parties that I cater for, majlises, different occasions. I even actually prepare food for the Islamic Center, Education Center, the Sunday school there, Sadiq school. I've prepared lots of burgers for them, and it's something that I love to do. It really makes me feel happy that people are, you know, that my community, you know, is confident that, you know, that I go out of my way to make sure that I provide them zibi halal, and really let them experience some of the things that they would never experience before, like arroz con pollo, typical rice and chicken meal that they wouldn't necessarily cook in their own homes. And I've had a lot of people, you know, experience it and want a little bit more of halal Latina food.
My name is Cynthia Khan, and I was born in New York, and my parents migrated from Puerto Rico to New York, and I am a Puerto Rican Muslim. My transition was not just a smooth one. I actually was introduced to Sunni Islam, and I actually embraced Islam without like 100%. And I guess it's at the time when I converted to Islam, there really wasn't anything like the social media and the internet and all these reading materials and stuff, other than what you hear, other than what somebody's telling you, and so honestly, I had a lot of false information, things that I can laugh about now, but after after I was a Sunni, and I married my husband, he actually told me a lot of stories about the imams and the pain and suffering that our Imam Hussein, alayhi Islam, he went through, and that drew me to wanting to go to the masjid. Originally, like one of the misconceptions I had is that, a woman can't go to the masjid. She's just forbidden from going to the masjid. And actually, when I did go, I got my hands on more material, and one book that then I was guided, which I went through, I think, within a couple hours, and that awakened me. Those were things that I didn't know. The things that happened immediately after the death of our Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, that awakened me and just took my heart. How giving they were of themselves for Islam. Although they had to face so many burdens, so much hatred, so much slander and things like that. And still they, because of, the love for God, just were able to give of themselves completely. That really touched me. When I think of our role models, I think about Bibi Zainab, alayhi Islam, and I think of, Bibi Fatima and how they spoke out, how they were for justice and how they spoke out. And then I think about, my ancestors, because when I was telling you that they were, that they're a colony. I mean, these people, they are a part of the U.S., they're U.S. citizens, but they have absolutely no, if you live in the territory, they have absolutely no right to vote. So I don't see that as just. The answer to the difficulties I may face as being Latina Shia in this country is kind of complex because not only do I face discrimination, let's say, for being Latina, and then of course wearing the scarf and the head covering. Some people don't really know that I actually am Latina. But some of the discrimination actually began in the masjid itself because I was not your typical. The masjid that I went to was like a very small. It wasn't really a masjid. It was like a center where I initially started going to, and they were predominantly Indian and Pakistani, and I guess I did not fit in. I did face some actual discrimination from other Muslims, as well as, I guess, part of my family and other other people that didn't understand. Okay, you're Latina, but why are you Muslim? So I mean, I do face, of course, issues for not only being, not the average white American, but of course for also being a Shia Muslim. We also have had, I've also had discrimination because I was actually Shia. A lot of, I used to actually work in a Sunni school, and the Sunni community there felt I was the first non-Muslim to be working in their administration because I was not Sunni. So I faced a lot of discrimination from a lot of different places.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sister Amina Moreno, and I was originally born in Buenaventura, Colombia, in South America. And my family came to the United States when I was 9. And I only knew Spanish. So when we came here, we moved to Los Angeles, Lawndale specifically, California, and I started going to elementary school there, and I was in ESL classes, learning how to speak English. And then from there, I went to high school, and middle school, then eventually high school. And when I was around 16 and a half, almost 17, about 16 and a half, I met a Muslim brother. And he wasn't really practicing, but I didn't even know he was Muslim. So after I got to know him, then he said he was Muslim, but I didn't know what Muslim was because I was Christian. And so I had never seen a Muslim in my life. This is back in 1983. And then when he told me he was Muslim, then I went to the encyclopedia and I started looking up Mohammedanism. And so I thought I knew a lot about it, and I told him, and he said that wasn't the religion, and this and that. And so I was in high school. I was in 11th grade at the time. And unfortunately, mine is more of a cliche. It's not the usual, you find out about Islam on your own. I had fallen in love with someone, and he turned out to be Muslim. So then he was already Shia because his father was Sunni, and then his father met an Iranian, and his father became Shia. So I didn't know the difference between Sunni and Shia. He just told me he was Muslim. And I started learning a little bit about it. I think the most difficult part about converting to Islam was the part about the Trinity. I had a really hard time with it. That one's really, really hard. I think I went through a very emotional, a lot of crying, a lot of why have I been lied to for so long, all my life? This makes no sense. I always thought it didn't make any sense. In Colombia, the country is 99% Catholics. But when we came to the United States, we grew apart from being Catholic to just being Christians. And I went to Seventh-day Adventist churches. We went to a lot of different churches. So I think the family left Catholicism and we started just being Christians and just believing in Jesus and the Bible, just like that. My father didn't really become a pastor till later on after I had already left the house. Once he did become a pastor and I converted to Islam and I left the house, we didn't speak for about 3 or 4 years. It was very difficult for him. And then not soon after I was pregnant at around 17 and a half with my son. And so all of that was too much for him to handle. So then after a long time, I must have been maybe around 20 or 21. Yeah, I must have said 18, 19, 20. About 21, 22. And then my dad called me and he said, I still don't like your religion. He said, but I like who you become. I knew who you were before, and I see who you are now, and I see how you're raising your kids, and I see you went back to college. I'm very proud of you, and I really like who you are. I still don't like your religion because I don't see why you have to wear that scarf. But he said, I see something different in you, and that was very nice. And then I had written him a letter apologizing for all the heartaches I gave him and my mom, and I told him that part of our religion is to honor our parents, and because I gave them such a difficult time, I wanted him to forgive me and my mom. And ever since I became Muslim, other brothers and sisters are disrespectful to my mom, but she has never, and my dad passed away, they have never seen me ever raise my voice or disrespect them, ever. I'm the only one of the 6, 7. Everybody's gotten a chance to be disrespectful, but since I became Muslim, I'd never. Whatever they say, even if I don't agree, it's what Islam says we're supposed to do, so. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Sister Amina Moreno, and I'm one of the board members of a mosque that we're currently building in Houston, Texas, called Masjid al-Rasul, and is predominantly located in the 5th Ward, a poverty-stricken area where the population is of low socioeconomic. As I said, a poor area in Houston where there are no actual mosques in the areas. Most of our mosques in the Houston, Texas are in the suburbs, and so this is a mosque that has been strategically set, and supported in, as I said, a poverty-stricken area. We're in the process of the last final phases of the mosque, and the purpose of doing this is that we feel that dawah is really important, to teach about Islam, to teach about Ahlul Bayt, to teach about the Prophet's family. And it's very difficult for communities that lack funding to be able to travel 30 minutes, an hour to the mosques that are in the suburbs. So it's, to us, the board members and a lot of the communities here in Houston understand the reason of why it's important to put a mosque in the neighborhood, in a poor neighborhood, to help people understand about Islam. It's weird when I hear somebody says, oh, my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was Muslim, we can go we know how to go our genealogy all the way to the Prophet. I hear those things and I don't understand what that means, because we only go back, Muslims, like, I think now my grandson's gonna be like 3rd generation or whatever it is. And it's just, I don't know, sometimes I feel like non-reverts take it for granted. I feel like it's just like, to them, it's like, well, it's a big deal. I'm Muslim, my grandfather's Muslim. And Eids are the hardest. The Eids are the most challenging. They will get together and it's like 100 of them. I get together, it's like one of me, or my daughter and my it's 4 of us. So we have to, like, some of our Latinos have to come together to try to make at least, and we still don't make, many. So I think that's when I feel it the most, is during Eids. I feel like, geez, we don't have that many, in the family.
I can say honestly that this is my best marriage. I feel very fortunate. I have the best friend, the best co-worker, the best helper. We have a lot of things in common. We're still discovering things and thresholds that bind us together that we weren't aware of prior to this time. I often tell myself that I feel very lucky. I feel that I have robbed the Hispanic community of their best. She has my back on everything. I don't have to worry about any wavering on her part by failing to adhere to the Islamic rules of conduct. I know that she's there, always waiting for me.
I feel like for most Hispanic Americans who are Muslim or Shia, you know, as a teenager you kind of go through your own identity crisis, but it kind of hits extremely hard when you're, you know, a Shia coming from a Jewish family, because, you know, it's like balancing like one or two or three different identities that you're given.
Zainab is my mercy from Allah. When I decided to marry my husband, it was because I did a istikhara and it was a relationship to children. I thought I was going to have about 10 of them, but I only had one. And when I think of our family, I think of the Prophet's family, and he had only one daughter. And Zainab is our mercy. She's my blessing. She's my test. And she's my gateway to paradise. And I know that that istikhara was in relationship to her and to the legacy that she is going to be creating through her deeds that she's already starting now.
Yes, of course, I have been to my Mexican neighborhood and people have laughed at me. One time in a grocery store, there was a little boy that said, "Mom, there is the boogeyman. There is the boogeyman." And he takes his he had a comforter, and he places it over his head. And no, he places it as if it were a hijab. And I pretended not to hear. But mommy is trying to shush him and shush him. And I look at her and I look at him and I smile. I say, he's a very cute little boy. He was a little toddler. Later on, at the register, the mom was explaining to me how that is not what they teach him at home. It was something that he saw on TV. And I could do nothing but smile. I said, "Ma'am, I appreciate you trying to spare my feelings, but I am okay. Please pray for me and pray, and I will do the same for you." Because I realized that if we did more outreach to the people in our community, we would not be strangers. We would not be the boogeyman. We need to walk out and about with a smile because we have Allah. Allah is our Lord. Because our religion is the best, our Lord is the best. We need to start seeing ourselves the way that Allah sees us. Who is the best among you? The best in actions. He's already given us the best religion. He's already given us the best book. He's already given us the best teachers.